All right, so on to solutions. So we've got lots of people working on them. It does give you hope. So I want to say we have something here at GW called the New Venture Competition. And this is students and student teams coming up with ideas actually to address some of these problems. So we wanted to introduce you to a couple people who are doing remarkable things. So Corey Howell, he's got this thing called Thunk Lab. He works with the Corcoran School of Arts. He was going to join us today. He's not able to because he's not feeling well, I think. But Liam Perry and Jaime Perez Bedmarello are here with us. And so if I can bring them out, wherever you are, come on out. Hi, Frank. You're wearing a tie. You're making me feel bad.
I can take it off.
No, your mic is stuck to it right now. So first of all, introduce yourself to everybody. Tell people who you are, where you're from.
Okay, I'm Jaime Perez del Mar. I'm from Spain, and I'm studying in GW, dual major international business and finance.
Yeah, and I'm Liam Perry. I'm also a senior, and I study international affairs and sustainability.
So you came up with an idea, right?
Right.
What's the idea?
So the idea is Asher Fabrics, and what it is we are a brand that uses an online platform to sell sustainable fabrics. And we source those from suppliers around the world, and then we use a QR code to then share that story with the customers.
So the QR code goes where?
The QR code goes on the end product for the consumer to then understand the sustainability story of the fabric.
So what's the story that you're trying to tell?
We want to be more transparent where the clothes come from, and actually we have a funny story. You want to tell the funny story?
Yeah. So
we like
this
funny
is
stories.
Kind of the story of how we came up with the company. I was asking Jaime, I was like, hey, I like your shirt. Where's it from? And he was like, oh, it's from Vietnam. I was like, Vietnam? No, I meant what brand is your shirt from? And then we ended up looking into, wait, we don't really know where our clothes are from or how we source them. And so we wanted to tackle that issue.
So tackling the issue means every piece of fabric you're going to have a QR code on it?
We have a little QR code which will tell the story from the beginning to the end. So the consumer is able to actually understand where the products come from, and is able to also share the stories with some friends. That would be the thing.
Are you actually doing any of this with anybody? Any communities you're working with yet, or
yeah,
fabrics?
So we've currently sourced a few suppliers in Peru and New Zealand, and that's sustainable wool, so organic wool, organic cotton, and organic linen is what we're starting with.
And we have the opportunity to, I don't know if you know, GOTS is a certifier of organic cotton. So it's actually an opportunity for us because GOTS is able to just be transparent where the suppliers are from and where the companies actually source all the materials. So we are able to introduce that into our QR code and actually help us to tell the story.
Who's the market for this? Who do you think would be interested in this?
So really what we want to do, the market is all of us here. It's people who care about sustainability and want to have more transparency in the supply chains. And typically, that's people who are engaged in sustainability, and that's a lot of youth, so people in our demographic.
Is there any indication that people would actually pay more for this kind of thing?
That's what we saw. We saw a premium, actually, all around the world. We saw a 37% increase in people actually interested in paying a premium. Within the US, it's a 69% increase in people actually willing to pay more for these products. So,
okay. So where's the business now? Where's the pitch in the idea pipeline?
Yeah. So right now we went through the GW New Venture competition. It was a great experience from it, and currently we're looking for funding to then create our QR code and outroll our website.
And how do you tell this story? How do you tell what this is about to the prospective funder?
I think it's pretty clear, as we just said to all of you guys, but at the end we want to tackle an issue that is being from generations, and we believe two young adults can make this happening with these innovative solutions.
Well, good luck. What should we be watching for, to see if you're going to?
So through the GW Sustainability Comms is how I think would be the easiest way for us to translate ideas to this audience. But we're going to be unveiling the website and unrolling this summer, so look forward to it.
All right. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
So back to the storytelling. You're the business, you tell your story, right? You need to tell your story outward. But you're the storyteller, right? You meet somebody like this, you say, that's really interesting. I want to tell their story. So it's who they are, what they're doing, what they're up against, right? That obstacle, that challenge and what they're trying to achieve. That's the approach. So staying on the theme of developing ideas, innovating and solving problems, now we look to that, and we're going to have this conversation, and then we're going to shortly head off to lunch. I am really, really, really delighted to announce that Planet Forward and George Washington University have developed a new and deeper partnership with Dell Technologies. Everybody know what Dell is, right? Okay. Yes, Ed's not. They're supporting this summit, and so thanks for that. But also they're supporting a remarkable graduate capstone project that we're going to roll out next year. We're an interdisciplinary team of graduate students, some from the School of Engineering, some from the School of Business, and some from the School of Media and Communication, Media and Public Affairs for Communication. Will collaborate to answer some key questions, working on a difficult problem that Dell has already given us, asking us to help them think through how Dell can reduce their greenhouse gas emissions as they've committed and produce more of their products from recycled, renewable, or reduced carbon emissions material. They're also interested in an intern, so if anyone's interested, they're looking for a fall intern to work with their supply chain and social environmental responsibility team, so maybe a little bit more on that. But for now, I would like to welcome to the stage Cassandra Garber. She's Dell's Vice President of Sustainability and ESG. So, Cassandra, if you're with us, I think you are, come on out.
Hi.
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 You brought your Planet Forward mug.
They told me to.
They did?
They said bring your water, and I was like, do I just hold it?
Well, I'm glad
Yes, cheers, everyone.
Tell people a little bit about yourself, what you do at Dell.
I'm dropping them.
Okay.
I can't do that. That's weird.
Tell people a little bit about yourself and what you do at Dell.
Let's see, about myself. Cassandra Garber, first thing to know about me, mom and wife to my best friend. I have 3 kiddos who are the most amazing humans that I've ever met. And I also love pickleball. And yeah, thank you. I got a woo, thank you for that. And ping pong. So, you know, kind of those kinds of sports and tennis. We're a bit of a tennis family. So that's the important stuff you need to know about me. Professionally, I get to lead sustainability and ESG at Dell Technologies, and I've been doing that kind of work for over 20 years, for those of you who think I look 16 because you can't see the wrinkles from where you are right there. I've actually been working in corporate environments for over 20 years, and 12 or 13 of them have been in sustainability and ESG, so I'm one of those rare people who actually has worked in a job with this title for that long, because it hasn't existed that long. And so I have, and I've done it for companies you may or may not have heard of: General Electric, Coca-Cola, 3M, and Dell Technologies. So I don't like the small ones. I go big.
Yeah, you go for the big ones, and it raises a lot.
I can tell you why too. There's a reason.
Go ahead.
Okay, the reason is I firmly believe there is tremendous power in driving change within corporations. And if we all have a real conversation about the role of the corporation in the future of society, there is so much potential.
Okay, but
Period.
so this we have.
I got to clap.
Is it really hard to do this?
Oh, it's super easy. No, it's real chill.
Yeah. Because corporations are for-profit entities, right? They've got to make money. They want to grow their profits, their dividends, whatever.
Yes.
And sometimes that's at odds
Yes.
with doing things that mean using it less or recycling more.
Yes, they are legally required to make money. So having a conversation that is about something other than financial impact is quite challenging. And not that we're having a regulatory conversation right now, but that's actually becoming very real in terms of how at odds it is, because the regulatory environment, particularly in the EU, is now demanding and legally requiring that companies disclose on things that are non-financial.
I think that's really important for those of you who may or may not be paying attention to this. The EU, European Union, is pushing really hard. They're much more climate engaged at the government level than this country is, and they're much more regulatory. And that, if you think about it, you're running the global widget corporation, you're trying to sell widgets all around the world. You've got different sets of rules and regulations on what you can use.
Really advanced widgets.
You're right. Well,
Widgets.
that too.
Sure.
Okay. So let's talk about your widgets for a minute and what you're doing at Dell. You've got several things in the sustainability space that you're addressing: greenhouse gas emissions, recycled and reused products. How do you approach? What are the priorities of sustainability within your company? What you're focused on?
Yeah. So our priorities are based on risks, opportunities, and impacts. And impacts means things outside in and things that are inside out. So impacts on us, impacts we are creating. So we use that kind of concept to kind of choose what our priorities are. And that helps a lot because back to the business lens, a number of these areas, if you actually spend a minute looking into it, you can make money off of doing more environmentally friendly things.
You can make more money doing
You
it
can make more money.
because the market wants it?
There's lots of reasons. From a risk standpoint, again, back to those regulations, you're going to lose money if you aren't compliant. 2, you can differentiate. So we spend a lot of time talking about product carbon footprints. It's kind of a mess, if I'm being completely honest, because there's no clear standardized methodology for how you do a product carbon footprint. However, I love when I get head nods. Thank you.
He knows.
He knows. He feels it because it's real. However, when you can do it and you can demonstrate that you're differentiated in your lower carbon footprint, you can charge more because you have now differentiated your
Really?
product.
You can charge more to...
You can charge more to your customers. No offense, but consumers are less willing than the large companies. So for us, we have a lot of commercial clients. The large companies are more willing because they too have set their own targets. They too have to make that a factor in their purchases because they're going to be regulated to do so, or because they've already set their own targets as a company and they need your products and your supply chain to help them meet their targets. So the companies are often more willing to at least let it be a differentiator in the bid process and they choose you, or even potentially they will pay more. Again, it's a factor in many things. They have to consider many things, but yeah.
So I want to stay with that. It's really interesting. And again, I never have a conversation like this without thinking, how would I turn this into a story? Because it's just what I do, right? But with that in mind and thinking about AI, artificial intelligence.
Never heard of it.
And the huge demands that that's creating in the energy sector, right?
Yes.
So you're dealing with this.
Yes.
Dell is.
Also in the digital divide and people's access to technology so that they can live their lives. But yes.
We'll come to that.
Yes.
But back to what companies do with other companies and how this advances things.
Yes.
The energy that you're buying, that you're purchasing, you have an opportunity to influence that.
Yes.
How?
How do we influence it, or how do we have that opportunity?
How do you influence it? I mean, because are you not demanding more power for AI and all this other stuff that comes from renewable sources?
Yes. So we are in how we run our operations. So we've of course got our own targets about renewable energy procurement and all that kind of stuff with our own operations. That is like completely immaterial compared to the energy demands of the use of our products. So for those of you who are familiar with greenhouse gas accounting, and I see smiles, because again, you feel this in a big way if you know this space as well. From a scope 3 perspective, for us, the supply chain, the greenhouse gas emissions associated with our supply chain and the use of our products are where it is wildly more than our own procurement. So what we do, I'm going to focus in on just the use of our products, because that's where AI comes in. So now AI and the large language models that are going to be required in order to run all this AI, and particularly generative AI, this is going to have tremendously increased energy consumption demands. So for us, there's a lot of things that we have to do. We have to make our products more energy efficient. We have lots of conversations about what is a sustainable data center? What does the data center of the future need to look like? Because data centers haven't really been part of the conversation in terms of sustainability. Yes, they have, for those of us who live and breathe it. They're becoming part of the real world conversation now because of the demands of AI. So we talk about liquid cooling, we talk about these kinds of things in ways we never talked about before. And then you have advocacy. So outside of that, we can't just focus on our products, we can't just focus on telling our customers, hey, you should do this. We actually have to advocate for renewable energy procurement, for policy, for all those kinds of things. And last thing I'm gonna say, because I can see how red that is.
It says 12, 10,
yeah.
9. Yeah.
Stop counting, you're taking my time. The last thing I'm gonna say about that is that the fun of being a global company is that that's different in every single stinking country. And so when you do this advocacy, you can't take the same approach everywhere because it's a very different environment. So the advocacy piece is huge and tricky and challenging just in itself.
Regardless of the clock, what I did want to ask you though is about your procurement.
Yeah.
And how you are procuring energy and what you as a company are asking for from those who are providing the energy that you're buying.
what we are asking for from those,
What you're buying energy. You're using energy.
We do,
right?
correct, yes.
Are you requiring that more of the energy that is provided to you, electricity, comes from renewable sources?
Oh yes, that was what I was referring to, our own renewable energy procurement that we do for our own operations. Yeah, 100%, yes. Because we have targets, just like any big company should absolutely have targets now for 100% renewable electricity globally. Ours are set for 2040, and we're trying to actually beat that as best we can. But so yes, we have expectations that we do that. And the reason that I said that so quickly is because in the scheme of climate change, that is far less material than this whole conversation about Scope 3. But yes, we absolutely do.
Great. Why don't we invite the other two out? We're going to have a little conversation. I'm going to open it to you for some questions in a few minutes too. So I'd like to also introduce to you, if you haven't met her already, Artealia Gilliard. She's from Ford, and Josh Panganiban from NextEra. So Josh, good to see you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Hi, Artealia. So we put this panel together very deliberately. So you've got a technology company that is doing massive global scale work, NextEra Energy, a renewable energy company focused on renewable energies, and a traditional manufacturing company that makes cars, right? So everybody's doing, so let me jump down to you, Josh. If you think about your sustainability goals at NextEra Energy, first tell a little bit about what NextEra Energy is, and then what your sustainability goals are, big picture.
So just a little bit of background about NextEra. So we're based in Florida, and we started, I think, around 1925 is when the utilities started, FPL. Nowadays, we're really two companies. So there's Florida Power and Light, that's like the local utility, the one people pay bills to, and then there's NextEra Energy Resources. That's the side I work with, and that's the one that helps build these wind, solar, battery projects. So we build a lot of them all throughout, I think, numbers 49 states, just in the US.
So how much wind and solar are you building now? How active is that? How fast is that growing?
Yeah, it's growing very fast. I mean, I can say there was a groundbreaking just this Wednesday in a project in Kentucky. 2 weeks ago, we got a 100 megawatt site online in Arkansas, and before that, we got another large one online in Louisiana, and even closer to home in Virginia, we have a project called Chesapeake Solar. That just came online in December. The total amount that we built in 2023 was 6.8 gigawatts.
And so, all right, I talk about contextualizing data.
Yeah, I'll contextualize that.
What does that mean?
Yeah, so when I say 100 megawatts, let's break it down to 1 megawatt. So think about 1 megawatt as 300 homes that we can power every year. So if I say 100 megawatt solar project, that's close to 30,000 homes that could be powered.
You don't write about a wind farm or a solar farm or anything like that without saying how many homes it will power, how many the equivalent of carbon it takes off the road in terms of cars not driven. Artealia, welcome to you. Hi.
Hello, good to see you again.
I announced yesterday that Artealia, who was with us last year as well, will be joining our Alliance for a Sustainable Future here at GW next year, working with us collaboratively and all that, and we're very excited about that. Artelia's background is has been in transportation. It was when you worked in the Obama administration, and now I like to say at Ford, you're at the intersection, of
He's got so many car puns, like I can't even tell you. Do not get on a text
I'd say
chain.
I'm firing on all pistons, but that is so not good if you're talking
Here
to
we
me.
go. Buckle up. Here we go.
So so you're working in a lot of different areas, communication sustainability, the just transition to EVs, but okay, here I go. There are speed bumps in the road.
Yeah.
Seems like it's slowed down a little bit.
Yeah.
What's going on?
So first of all, this is my favorite myth to bust, is we're not slowing down at all. And so I think what's really important to understand about the adoption of EVs is that what we're doing here, we're doing on a massive scale. We're trying to transition our transportation system from one that's based on based on fossil fuels to one that's based on renewable energy, right? And that's everything from the fuel that goes in the vehicles, the plastics and the metal we use to construct them, to the energy we use to power the facilities that build them. So it's a full scale push to move the economy. And
what are you doing with the energy to power them? Just
absolutely, yeah. I wanted to come back to that because I think one of the things. So both of these companies are in Ford's supply chain. I use a Dell computer at Ford. We've got some of your equipment running around our factory. And we're working with NextEra on energy storage so that some of our facilities where we're producing renewables, they can run on a battery instead of having to go to the grid. But speaking of the grid, Ford, last year we made the biggest single purchase of renewable energy in U.S. history, and that was 650 megawatts. And so, you put that into context of how many homes we would be able to, I can't do the math. Is that 6 point,
do the
Josh,
math?
do the math, 6.5 million? Well,
It's
a
a
lot of
lot,
homes.
yeah.
It's a lot of homes.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of homes. And that's one purchase, right? So you look at the scale of Ford, that was just solar energy. We use other types of energy, and that was just in Michigan. And so if we really focus on our ability to put our money where our mouth is and send the market that signal, look at what we can do. We give utilities what they need to go out and build that infrastructure, and everybody benefits. There's tax revenue, and there's more solar, there's more wind, there's more renewables on the grid that everyone will benefit from.
Cassandra, what's Dell doing with that? Some years ago, I had a fascinating conversation with the head of a utility company, and he said, it almost doesn't matter what the government does. It's the marketplace that's driving this. And our big customers is what I was getting at before, are demanding that we produce more power renewably. So we're shutting down coal plants and we're firing up, if you will, wind and solar. So how do you see this?
Yeah, no, that's 100%. And in fact, I really don't want to go down this path. But the conversation that's happening in the US is wildly different than the conversation that's happening in Europe and other parts of the world. And so whenever there's this whole conversation about what the government is doing, it's like, as a global company, that is one area in which we operate, and we have got to be balanced globally. And when you have to balance globally, you tend to have to go with the highest expectation is your low bar. So it forces us to make the highest expectation our lowest bar from a market standpoint and from a government standpoint. And yeah, so our big customers, we have huge customers based in Europe, and they are all, it's fascinating to be in the room and you talk about storytelling. You don't have to pitch them at all. They're so there, it's not even funny. They're like, where are you, American?
Yeah.
Like, step it up.
Yeah, what do you say when they ask you that question?
I say, I'm trying. I'm trying. I am on the inside fighting the fight, quite frankly, is what we talk about.
That's really interesting. I remember a conversation actually I had with somebody from Volkswagen a few years ago. He was from Germany, so it's completely different when we come here and the way because with the things you have to convince people of here, it's not even a conversation anymore. So how does NextEra, how do you position the narrative? How do you talk about who you are and what you're doing? How do you tell your story?
Yeah, I think the best part about NextEra is with our utility, Florida Power and Light, we're able to deploy a lot of renewables in the state of Florida. And that's what we get to tell off our customers, other utilities, like, hey, as a utility, we are building all these renewables for ourselves, and we can also build it for you. And that's been ongoing. We've been able to, pretty much target almost every utility in the United States and try to sell them the renewables that they want.
Could I just add, I don't know if it occurred to any, you're in Florida.
Yeah.
You have, I don't want to get political, but sorry, you've got a governor and you've got a team there that won't let state agencies put the term climate change on their website. Isn't that right?
I can't speak anything about that.
No, but what yes, that's right.
What I can talk about
but how do you tell, isn't that just sort of weird to be?
I think where we build a lot of renewable projects. So I work in the Midwest, primarily Indiana, Ohio, Oklahoma, and parts of Colorado. A lot of our projects are going to these rural communities. It's providing economic benefits, it's providing a lot of tax benefits, and it's socializing really the power of renewable energy, not just to utilities, but to the community as well. I recently toured a wind site where the wind site was built and some people got jobs from the wind site, but also they were having the wind, workers go in parades and everything. It was almost part of the community and essential to the community.
So it's not about climate change, it's about work.
It's about work, it's about economics, it's about jobs, and there's a story to tell, depending on where you want that conversation to go.
Artealia, this gets back to the earlier conversation about how we frame stories.
For sure.
Now, Ford is a legacy company. You're not Tesla. So Tesla runs around and they say EV and everybody gets it. How do you take your legacy story and merge that onto, oh no, we're actually reinventing transportation story.
Absolutely. I think it's really realizing what Ford has done in history and the power of what we could do if we focus that on the modern technology that we're trying to bring on board. And so if you really think about it, Ford was the first tech unicorn in this country, right? Like, we were trying to move people from horse and buggy to automobile at massive scale. We built assembly lines. We created essentially what is the modern corporation today. So the idea of a fair and living wage for our employees, the idea that your health benefits would be connected to your job so that we could have a healthy workforce that could contribute. The idea of even a 5-day work week, which a lot of people wish was 4 now. Yeah. I'm sort of behind that, but we're working on it. So I think you have this know-how within Ford of how to do something really big and really transformative. And the challenge is the narrative. The challenge is, how do we draw a vision, or how do we create a vision in people's minds that is enticing enough that they want to be part of it? And frankly, it's something that Tesla isn't really trying to do. They don't see it as their responsibility, but we do. And we can't make this transition without people. You know, if you're talking about a computer, you could change a part in a computer and make it low carbon, and people probably wouldn't notice unless you told them about it, or unless it failed, right? But people notice that there's an electric battery underneath their car instead of internal combustion engine. And so the challenge is, we have to educate people, we have to engage them, we have to meet them where they are. And like you're saying, Josh, we start from a place of values. First of all, clean air and clean water. It's something we can all get behind, and it's something people expect for Ford to do.
So that is the marketing? I mean, isn't it the driving experience for most people?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't it the price point for most people?
Yeah, I mean, the honest truth is, as a brand, we talk about the way we make EVs, because that's important, right? Our impact on local communities, how we're protecting the environment, how we're protecting the water. When it comes to the product, you can't start from that place. It's just not the most compelling sales case. And so you really want to talk about why they're better, why they're different, why they can do things that you never imagined a vehicle could do, like power your home, or be backup power in the case of an energy outage, or go from 0 to 60 in 3.4 miles, which no other car can do.
3.4 miles, 3.4 seconds.
Seconds. I'm such a car person, let me tell you.
Cassandra,
I'm becoming one, though. I got the megawatts right, which is really important.
Is sustainability part of Dell's narrative about itself? Is it part of its, and is that more inward messaging or also outward messaging?
All of the above. So when we talk about the narrative on sustainability, we talk about it being a business imperative. So one of the things we're trying to do is be unapologetic about it. We're not going to say that, you know, this is something we're doing for the good of the world and join us here and all of this. This is actually a business imperative now. I don't need to say it again. It's regulated. It's a risk to your business. It's an opportunity to your business, and should be treated as any other topic. And so that is kind of the framing that we bring into everything that we do. So when we talk about it internally and externally, we talk about end-to-end sustainability. And I know that that doesn't sound super sexy, but that is actually what we talk about as a company as well. So everybody thinks of the laptop, but Dell Technologies is an end-to-end IT infrastructure company. It's the laptop, it's the servers, it's the networking, it's all the things in between, just like we were talking about before. So if our company's differentiator is end-to-end, we brought the same mindset to sustainability. Our sustainability portfolio is end-to-end. It's back-end for all the IT folks here. It's back-end stuff. It's the reporting. It's the governance. It's all the advocacy we have to do inside the company. It's the supply chain and that stuff. It's the front-end stuff. It's the energy efficiency of our products. It's the product carbon footprint. It's the repairability, which people do care about whether or not they can repair something in their product. Sure. And they have a lot of conversation about that. It's the sustainable materials, those kinds of things. And then it's also what we talk about, which is kind of using that stack for impact. So how do you think about those things, and how do you use technology for good? So for us, that's end-to-end, the same way our company is end-to-end. So from a storytelling perspective, we did that on purpose. Our story shouldn't be any different at a high level. It's a business imperative, and it's integrated in everything that we do. And how I tell that internally is, I think, a type of storytelling that I think is often underutilized and under-recognized for its power, which I refer to as executive storytelling.
Oh, what's that?
Oh, let me tell you. Executive storytelling is, I'm going to make it sound super cool. The executive summary slide. That's it. Executive storytelling, when you are trying to move the needle with a small group of very influential, very critical people who can make decisions that change entire supply chains and change things at scale.
Do you all know what an executive summary is?
You do know.
Okay. If you don't, it's the part that is on the front of the report that's shorter than anything else.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And you like that?
Oh, it is. So this is why I say it's underestimated and understood. I'm going to say it that way, because it is the phrase that a friend of mine started using, and now we use it quite regularly, is saving the world one PowerPoint at a time. Because we all think about the ads, we all think about, see, they're nodding their heads because this is real. This is how change happens.
the bottom line up front.
The bottom line up front.
Yeah.
And it is one slide. If you don't nail the first slide and you don't provide them enough information, you have lost them. And all your backup and everything else is gone because they need that summary. They need to know why it's important for business, and heartstrings typically don't work. It might change their personal life, but it's not going to change their business decisions. So that executive summary, those very core bullet points that you put on this first slide that do not sound sexy are changing the world right now. They are the conversations in the boardrooms. They are the way you pull the story together in a compelling way to move businesses is truly, what is this event? Storytelling for survival. Mm-hmm. Like, I believe that it is a core way that we are going to survive all of this, is to bring businesses along, and the exec summary slide is the way to do it.
Josh, we're gonna wrap, and I'm gonna call Amani up here. We're gonna go to lunch. I lied. I said we'd come to questions. We want to get everybody to lunch. These guys are joining us for lunch, so you'll have an opportunity to see them there, sit at a table with them, that kind of thing, and you can engage the conversation there. But before we wrap, Josh, talk about how NextEra tells its story, and you know, because some people in some places say, oh, windmills kill birds, and you know, solar panels are ugly.
Yeah, well, we tell our story really one project at a time. I mean, the one thing that I love about this conference is how we talk about the story of NextEra, the story about renewables in general. The story we tell companies that, hey, if they want to hit their decarbonization goals, our renewable energy projects can provide that. Then to the community, hey, if you want economic benefits, you want this project to live and provide jobs, then we can provide that. And then to, even internally, we have to sell the story ourselves. You know, is this the right business investment? Is this the right business decision? Put a project here. So there's a lot of storytelling, and it just differs depending on the audience. But at the end of the day, we want to get renewables done, and I think we're getting it done. So,
Artealia, last to you. The story that people are seeing about Ford and EVs right now, production is slowing down, orders are slowing down, Ford is reconsidering, Tesla's sales are slowing, the early adopters have all bought it, but the mass market, well, not so sure, very uncertain. Is that the story as you see it?
No, it isn't. And I think what we're seeing here is really the challenge. It's the same adoption curve. Does everybody know what an adoption curve is? So it's the same pattern for any new technology. It's the same pattern that happened with personal computers. It's the same pattern that happened with cell phones. You have an early majority, an early adopter pool. They're comfortable with technology. They like to try new things. They like to be different. And those are the people that bought this first set of EVs, the EVs that Tesla's selling, the EVs that Ford was selling in our first generation, and even BYD if you look globally. Now we're on to the early majority of people. And this is a completely different challenge. And you have to communicate to that group of people in a completely different way. And so what we're trying to do is really course correct to the early majority to create the types of electric vehicles that they want to buy. And what is really exciting about this time is you're seeing companies learn as they go. We're learning on the job. We're building it as we're flying it. And so I think that's what's happening with EVs is there's this course correction to smaller, more affordable electric vehicles. There's a lot of reasons why that's good. Number one, some of the things Owen talked about, the water, the energy, the resources it takes to make big, heavy SUVs and trucks. But also, so that we can get more people on board earlier. If we can make the EVs smaller, more affordable, we'll be able to hit that bigger market of people that want to drive them. And this is the part that sort of makes me lose sleep at night is like, you know, when you think about the way people drive today in the United States, as an example, 95% of every trip that you take is less than 25 miles. So for a large majority of people, an electric vehicle could be a great option. And if we move quickly and get that segment of the transportation transportation system into EVs, we will see immediate benefits
So
to
the way
air
this should
and
work
water
is,
and public
yeah,
health.
so the way this should work is people can buy an EV, charge it through NextEra Solar,
Yeah.
and track their behavior on a Dell computer.
That was excellent.
And we call that product
Yeah.
placement.
Yeah.
is what we-
It's called GPS.
Well done.
So they'll buy the EV
That's
with her
why
Dell
he's the
computer.
It's a Dell chip.
Cassandra,
There'll be a
last-
Dell chip in
It's
the
in all of her
console.
stuff.
Yeah, right. Last one to you very quickly. I had somebody come to a class a few years ago. She worked with the Office of Science and Technology Policy at the White House. She was a scientist. And she said, we don't have a
And
science.
she's a she. Yay!
Of course she is. Of course she is.
Yep. And she said, we don't have a science problem. We have a communication problem.
100%.
Why is communication so important in the work that we do, you do, to push sustainability forward?
I'd say the main reason I think that it's important is because there's a bias in this space in particular. And every tool that you can think of for storytelling is applicable here. And when I say that, I mean like the heartstring stuff, you can do that here and you should do that here. The data points, the proof, you should do that here, you should bring that here. The executive summary slide, you should do that here. The business aspects of it. Like every type of communication is incredibly relevant and necessary in this space because we're overcoming bias, that it's not good for business, that it's not real, that it's not something that we can afford or whatever it may be. There's just so much that we need every type of communication to move every type of person because they take it in differently. Those executives, they don't want the heartstrings, but the consumers often do. So I think it's the bias and
Know
it's
your
the
audience.
always know your audience and what you want them to walk away with, to
Absolutely.
do something, to understand something, to feel something, or to just listen to you the next time you come in the room, because sometimes that's what it is.
Cassandra, Josh, Artealia, thank you so much.